the depths of the African wilderness, where the veil between the mortal realm and the spirit world is thin, tales of witchcraft and supernatural powers linger like whispers in the night. Among the villagers of a remote tribe, there existed a woman known only as Neka, whose mastery of dark arts was whispered to rival that of the ancient gods. Neka, with eyes like obsidian pools, possessed a beauty that masked her malevolent soul. She prowled the moonlit paths, her shadow stretching like tendrils of darkness, instilling fear in the hearts of those who dared to cross her path. Rumors swirled of Neka's communion with the spirits of the forest, her incantations echoing through the trees, summoning ghosts and malevolent entities to do her bidding. Those who defied her found themselves plagued by misfortune, their crops withering, their livestock falling prey to sickness, and their loved ones succumbing to mysterious ailments. One moonless night, a young man ventured into the heart of the forest, seeking the secrets of Neka's power. He stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an eerie glow, where Neka stood amidst a circle of flickering flames, chanting in a language long forgotten by mortal tongues. As he watched in horror, the shadows coalesced into twisted forms, their eyes gleaming with malice. They danced to Neka's tune, a macabre ballet of darkness and despair. The young man's blood ran cold as he realized the true extent of Neka's power. She was not merely a witch, but a conduit for the darkest forces of the spirit world. Unable to tear his gaze away, he witnessed unspeakable acts of cruelty and inhumanity, as the spirits enacted Neka's will upon the unsuspecting villagers. Their screams echoed through the night, mingling with the howls of the wind, a symphony of terror orchestrated by the witch and her spectral minions. But amidst the horror, a glimmer of hope flickered in the young man's heart. He vowed to confront Neka, to challenge her dominion over the spirits and free his people from her tyranny. With courage born of desperation, he stepped into the circle of flames, his eyes locked with Neka's, and so, the stage was set for a battle that would shake the foundations of both the mortal world and the realm of the spirits. But whether the young man would emerge victorious, or fall prey to the darkness that lurked within Neka's soul, remained to be seen.
As the young man stood within the circle of flames, his heart pounded with a mixture of fear and determination. Neka's gaze bore into his soul, a chilling reminder of the power she wielded. "You dare to defy me?" Neka's voice rang out, a cold whisper that seemed to emanate from the very depths of the earth. "I will not stand by while you unleash your terror upon my people," the young man replied, his voice trembling but resolute. "Your reign of darkness ends here." With a flick of her wrist, Neka unleashed a torrent of dark energy, sending the young man sprawling to the ground. But he refused to yield, drawing upon every ounce of strength within him to stand once more. The air crackled with magic as the two adversaries faced off, their powers colliding in a whirlwind of light and shadow. The forest trembled with the intensity of their struggle, as though the very earth itself were caught in the throes of their battle. But Neka was not alone in her fight. From the depths of the forest, the spirits she had summoned rose to her defense, their ethereal forms twisting and contorting in a frenzy of rage. Undeterred, the young man pressed forward, his determination unwavering. With each blow, he chipped away at Neka's defenses, inching closer to victory with every step. As the battle raged on, the lines between reality and nightmare blurred, until it seemed as though they stood on the precipice of oblivion. But in the end, it was not brute strength or dark magic that determined the outcome, but the purity of the young man's heart. With a final burst of energy, he unleashed a wave of light that enveloped Neka, banishing the darkness that had consumed her. In that moment, the forest fell silent, the spirits vanishing into the ether as though they had never existed, and as the first light of dawn broke through the canopy above, the young man stood victorious, his people freed from the grip of Neka's tyranny. But though the immediate threat had been vanquished, the memory of her dark reign would linger for generations to come, a cautionary tale of the dangers that lurked in the shadows of the human soul. With Neka's defeat, a newfound sense of peace settled over the village. The air was thick with relief as the villagers emerged from their homes, their faces no longer etched with fear. But even in victory, the scars of Neka's reign ran deep. The land bore witness to the atrocities that had been committed in her name. Fields lay barren, homes stood empty, and the echoes of lost loved ones haunted the forest. Determined to rebuild their lives, the villagers rallied together, drawing strength from the bonds that had sustained them through even the darkest of days. They tended to their fields, sowing seeds of hope in the soil that had long been tainted by despair. Yet, whispers of Neka's dark legacy lingered, a reminder of the fragility of their world. Some spoke of seeing her shadow flit through the trees, while others swore they heard her haunting laughter carried on the wind, but the young man who had stood against her knew better than anyone the true cost of victory. In the dead of night, he would wander the forest, his gaze searching the shadows for any sign of her return. For he knew that the darkness that had consumed Necker had not been vanquished entirely, it merely lay dormant, waiting for an opportunity to rise once more, and so, as the village began to heal, he remained ever vigilant, knowing that the battle against evil was a never-ending struggle. For even in the most tranquil of places, the seeds of darkness could take root, ready to bloom once more at the slightest provocation, but for now, the villagers found solace in each other's company, drawing strength from the knowledge that they had faced their greatest fear and emerged victorious. And as they looked towards the horizon, they dared to believe that a brighter future lay ahead, where the shadows of the past could no longer hold sway over their lives. As seasons changed and time flowed onward, the village flourished once more, its wound slowly healing under the gentle touch of time. The scars of Necker's reign faded, replaced by the vibrant hues of life and renewal, yet, despite the passage of years, the memory of Necker remained etched in the collective consciousness of the villagers. Tales of her dark deeds were passed down from generation to generation, serving as a cautionary reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. The young man who had faced Necker's wrath had grown into a respected elder, his courage and wisdom revered by all who knew him. But beneath his stoic exterior, the memory of their fateful encounter lingered, a constant reminder of the fragility of peace. As the village prospered, whispers of unrest began to stir once more. Strange occurrences plagued the land, crops withered, livestock fell ill, and whispers of malevolent spirits haunted the night. Some whispered that Necker's spirit had returned, seeking vengeance upon those who had dared to defy her. The elders convened, their brows furrowed with concern as they grappled with the resurgence of dark forces. They knew that they could not afford to underestimate the threat that Necker posed, for her power was greater than any they had faced before. With a heavy heart, the elder knew that the time had come to once again confront the darkness that lurked within the heart of the forest. Gathering a band of brave warriors, he set out into the wilderness, determined to banish Necker's spirit once and for all. But as they ventured deeper into the forest, they found themselves ensnared in a web of dark magic, their senses distorted by illusions and whispers of doubt. Shadows danced at the edge of their vision, taunting them with visions of their deepest fears, yet, through sheer force of will, they pressed onward, their resolve unwavering in the face of adversity. For they knew that the fate of their village depended on their success, and they would not rest until Necker's spirit had been laid to rest for eternity. And so, as they ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, the fate of the village hung in the balance, their future uncertain in the face of an ancient evil that refused to be vanquished. As the warriors delved deeper into the heart of the forest, the air grew thick with a palpable sense of dread. Shadows seemed to coil around them, whispering tales of doom and despair. Yet, they pressed on, their determination unyielding in the face of adversity. With each step, the forest grew denser, the trees looming like silent sentinels guarding the secrets of the past. Strange symbols etched into the bark glowed faintly in the dim light, hinting at the ancient power that lay dormant within the woods. As they ventured further, they stumbled upon an ancient grove, its sacred energy pulsing with an otherworldly intensity. At its center stood a towering tree, its gnarled roots delving deep into the earth like grasping fingers. It was here that they sensed the presence of Necker's spirit, a malevolent force that permeated the very air around them. With a sense of trepidation, they prepared themselves for the battle that lay ahead, knowing that they faced an opponent unlike any they had encountered before. As the moon rose high overhead, casting an eerie glow upon the grove, Necker's spirit materialized before them, her eyes gleaming with a feral intensity. With a wave of her hand, she unleashed a wave of dark energy, sending the warriors reeling, but they refused to falter, rallying together to face their adversary head-on. With swords raised and hearts afire, they launched themselves into battle, their movements fueled by a fierce determination to protect their village from the darkness that threatened to consume it once more. The clash of steel rang out through the night, echoing amidst the ancient trees as the warriors fought with all their might. Yet, for every blow they landed, Necker's spirit seemed to grow stronger, feeding off the fear and desperation that hung heavy in the air. But just as all hope seemed lost, a voice rose above the din, the voice of the elder, his words imbued with the wisdom of ages past. With a power born of love and sacrifice, he called upon the spirits of the forest to aid them in their hour of need, and in that moment, the very earth trembled beneath their feet, as the spirits rose from the depths of the forest, their ethereal forms swirling around Necker like a tempestuous storm. With a cry of defiance, they unleashed their fury upon her, binding her spirit with chains of pure light, and as dawn broke upon the horizon, the grove fell silent once more, the echoes of battle fading into the gentle rustle of leaves. With Nekka's spirit banished from the forest, the warriors emerged victorious, their hearts filled with a newfound sense of hope and renewal, but though the threat of Nekka may have been vanquished, the memory of her dark reign would linger for generations to come, a reminder of the eternal struggle between light and darkness that raged within the human soul. In the aftermath of the epic battle, a sense of peace descended upon the village once more. The shadows that had long haunted the forest seemed to retreat, replaced by the warm embrace of sunlight filtering through the canopy above. The warriors returned to the village as heroes, their faces adorned with scars earned in the defense of their home. They were hailed as champions, their names spoken with reverence by those they had saved from the grip of darkness, but amidst the celebrations, a solemn mood lingered, for the scars left by Nekka's reign ran deep. Fields lay fallow, homes stood empty, and the spectre of loss hung heavy in the air. Determined to rebuild what had been lost, the villagers banded together, their spirits undeterred by the challenges that lay ahead. With each passing day, they toiled tirelessly, tending to their fields and nurturing the bonds that held their community together. Yet, even as life returned to normal, whispers of the past still haunted the village. Some claimed to hear Nekka's laughter carried on the wind, while others swore they saw her shadow lurking at the edge of the forest, but the elders dismissed such tales as mere superstition, choosing instead to focus on the future that lay ahead. For they knew that the true legacy of their village would not be defined by the darkness that had once threatened to consume it, but by the resilience and strength of those who had fought to protect it. And so, as the seasons turned and the years passed, the village flourished once more, its spirit unbroken by the trials of the past. For though the memory of Nekka's reign would linger for generations to come, it served as a reminder of the indomitable human spirit, a spirit capable of triumphing over even the darkest of evils. As the village flourished once more, whispers of Nekka's legacy gradually faded into the background, replaced by the everyday rhythms of life. The fields bore bountiful harvests, the laughter of children filled the air, and the warmth of community enveloped the village like a comforting embrace. Yet, beneath the surface, a lingering unease persisted, a nagging reminder of the fragility of their newfound peace. The elders remained ever vigilant, their watchful eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble on the wind, but as the years passed without incident, complacency began to set in, and the memory of Nekka's reign faded into little more than a distant nightmare. The younger generation grew up without the fear that had once gripped their elders, their lives untouched by the darkness that had once threatened to consume them. Yet, just as the village began to relax its guard, a series of strange occurrences sent tremors of unease rippling through the community. Crops began to wither, livestock fell ill, and whispers of malevolent spirits once again haunted the night. At first, the villagers dismissed these signs as mere coincidence, attributing them to natural causes or the whims of the spirits. But as the incidents grew more frequent and more severe, it became clear that something dark and sinister was once again stirring in the heart of the forest. With a heavy heart, the elders convened once more, their faces drawn with concern as they grappled with the resurgence of dark forces. They knew that they could not afford to ignore the signs any longer. Nekka's spirit had returned, seeking vengeance upon those who had dared to defy her. Determined to protect their village from the looming threat, the elders called upon the bravest warriors and wisest shamans to confront the darkness once more. Armed with ancient knowledge and unwavering resolve, they set out into the wilderness, their hearts heavy with the weight of their responsibility. But as they ventured deeper into the forest, they soon realized that this time, the darkness they faced was unlike anything they had encountered before. It seemed to seep into every corner of the forest, twisting the very fabric of reality itself. With each step, they felt the weight of the darkness pressing down upon them, threatening to consume them whole. Yet, they pressed on, their determination unyielding in the face of the unknown. And so, as they ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, the fate of the village once again hung in the balance, their future uncertain in the face of an ancient evil that refused to be vanquished. As the warriors and shamans delved deeper into the heart of the forest, the darkness seemed to intensify around them, suffocating the very air they breathed. Whispers echoed through the trees, carrying with them the echoes of Nekka's malevolent laughter. Despite the oppressive atmosphere, the group pressed on, their resolve unyielding in the face of the encroaching darkness. They moved with caution, their senses on high alert for any sign of danger lurking in the shadows. Hours turned into days as they journeyed deeper into the heart of the forest, the path growing ever more treacherous with each step. Strange creatures skittered in the underbrush, their eyes gleaming with a feral intensity, while twisted forms slithered through the darkness, their presence sending shivers down the warriors' spines. But even as they faced these myriad threats, it was the sense of foreboding that weighed heaviest upon their hearts. They could feel the presence of Nekka's spirit lurking just beyond the edge of their perception, a malevolent force that seemed to anticipate their every move, yet, despite the odds stacked against them, the warriors and shamans pressed onward, drawing upon the strength of their bonds and the wisdom of their ancestors to guide them through the darkness. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the heart of the forest, a place where the veil between the mortal realm and the spirit world was thinnest. Here, amidst the ancient trees and swirling mists, they found themselves face to face with Nekka's spirit once more, her form twisted and contorted, shifting between shadow and substance with an otherworldly fluidity. Her eyes burned with a malevolent fire as she regarded them with a mixture of scorn and amusement. "You fools dare to challenge me once more," she hissed, her voice echoing through the clearing like a sinister melody. "You cannot hope to defeat me." But the warriors and shamans stood their ground, their resolve unshaken in the face of Nekka's taunts. With a unified cry, they launched themselves into battle, their weapons flashing in the dim light as they clashed with the darkness that surrounded them. Yet, for every blow they landed, Nekka's spirit seemed to grow stronger, feeding off the fear and desperation that hung heavy in the air. It soon became clear that they were outmatched, their strength no match for the ancient evil that stood before them. But just as all hope seemed lost, a voice rose above the din, the voice of the eldest shaman, his words infused with the power of generations past. With a final act of sacrifice, he called upon the spirits of the forest to aid them in their hour of need, and in that moment, the very earth trembled beneath their feet as the spirits rose from the depths of the forest, their ethereal forms swirling around Nekka like a tempestuous storm. With a cry of defiance, they unleashed their fury upon her, binding her spirit with chains of pure light. And as the darkness receded, replaced by the warm glow of dawn, the warriors and shamans emerged victorious, their hearts filled with a sense of triumph and renewal. For though the threat of Nekka had been vanquished once and for all, the memory of her dark reign would linger for generations to come, a reminder of the eternal struggle between light and darkness that raged within the human soul. As the light of dawn broke through the canopy, bathing the forest in a warm, golden glow, a sense of peace descended upon the land once more. The spirits of the forest, having aided the warriors and shamans in their battle against Nekka's darkness, returned to their slumber, their ethereal forms fading into the morning mist. The warriors and shamans, exhausted but triumphant, gathered amidst the clearing, their faces alight with the glow of victory. Though they bore the scars of their battle with Nekka's spirit, they stood tall and proud, their spirits unbroken by the trials they had faced. Yet, as they surveyed the aftermath of their struggle, a solemn realization dawned upon them: the battle against darkness was an eternal one, with no true end in sight. For even as they had vanquished Nekka's spirit, they knew that new threats would inevitably arise to take its place. With this knowledge weighing heavily upon their hearts, the warriors and shamans made a solemn vow to remain ever vigilant, to stand as guardians of their village and protectors of the light against the encroaching darkness. And so, as they made their journey back to the village, they carried with them not only the scars of their battle, but also a newfound sense of purpose and determination. For though the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and dangers, they knew that as long as they stood together, they would always prevail. As they returned to the village, they were greeted as heroes, their bravery celebrated by the grateful villagers who had been spared from the clutches of Nekka's darkness. Yet, amidst the festivities, the elders reminded them of the importance of remaining vigilant, of never allowing themselves to become complacent in the face of evil. And so, as the sun set on another day, the villagers gathered around the flickering flames of the communal fire, their hearts filled with gratitude for the warriors and shamans who had saved them from the brink of despair. And as they shared stories of their triumph over darkness, they knew that no matter what trials lay ahead, they would face them together, united in their determination to protect their village and preserve the light that shone within their souls. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, life in the village gradually returned to normalcy. The scars of the recent battle began to fade, replaced by the vibrant colors of renewal and hope. The fields flourished once more, yielding bountiful harvests, and the laughter of children echoed through the streets, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Yet, beneath the surface, a sense of unease lingered, a lingering reminder of the darkness that had once threatened to engulf their village. The elders remained ever vigilant, their watchful eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble on the wind. But as the seasons changed and the years passed, the memory of Nekka's reign slowly began to fade into the annals of history, relegated to little more than a cautionary tale told to children around the communal fire. Yet, just as the villagers began to believe that their troubles were finally behind them, a new threat emerged from the depths of the forest, more insidious and more Terrifying than any they had faced before, strange occurrences began to plague the village once more. Crops withered, livestock fell ill, and whispers of malevolent spirits haunted the night. The elders recognized the signs immediately, their hearts heavy with the knowledge that Nekka's darkness had returned to claim its vengeance upon them. With a heavy heart, the elders convened once more, their faces drawn with concern as they grappled with the resurgence of dark forces. They knew that they could not afford to ignore the signs any longer. Nekka's spirit had returned, more powerful and more malevolent than ever before. Determined to protect their village from the looming threat, the elders called upon the bravest warriors and wisest shamans to confront the darkness once more. Armed with ancient knowledge and unwavering resolve, they set out into the wilderness, their hearts heavy with the weight of their responsibility. But as they ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, they soon realized that this time, the darkness they faced was unlike anything they had encountered before. It seemed to seep into every corner of the forest, twisting the very fabric of reality itself. With each step, they felt the weight of the darkness pressing down upon them, threatening to consume them whole. Yet, they pressed on, their determination unyielding in the face of the encroaching shadows, and so, as they ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, the fate of the village once again hung in the balance, their future uncertain in the face of an ancient evil that refused to be vanquished.
As the warriors and shamans delved deeper into the heart of the forest, the air grew thick with an oppressive darkness that seemed to smother the very light around them. Whispers of Nekka's malevolent laughter echoed through the trees, sending shivers down their spines. Despite the ominous atmosphere, the group pressed on, their determination unwavering in the face of the encroaching darkness. They moved with caution, their senses on high alert for any sign of danger lurking in the shadows. Hours turned into days as they journeyed deeper into the heart of the forest, the path growing increasingly treacherous with each step. Strange creatures skulked in the underbrush, their eyes gleaming with a feral intensity, while twisted forms slithered through the darkness, their presence sending shivers down the warriors' spines. But even as they faced these myriad threats, it was the sense of foreboding that weighed heaviest upon their hearts. They could feel the presence of Nekka's spirit lurking just beyond the edge of their perception, a malevolent force that seemed to anticipate their every move. Yet, despite the odds stacked against them, the warriors and shamans pressed onward, drawing upon the strength of their bonds and the wisdom of their ancestors to guide them through the darkness. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the heart of the forest, a place where the veil between the mortal realm and the spirit world was thinnest. Here, amidst the ancient trees and swirling mists, they found themselves face to face with Nekka's spirit once more. Her form twisted and contorted, shifting between shadow and substance with an otherworldly fluidity. Her eyes burned with a malevolent fire as she regarded them with a mixture of scorn and amusement. "You fools dare to challenge me once more?" she hissed, her voice echoing through the clearing like a sinister melody. "You cannot hope to defeat me." But the warriors and shamans stood their ground, their resolve unshaken in the face of Nekka's taunts. With a unified cry, they launched themselves into battle, their weapons flashing in the dim light as they clashed with the darkness that surrounded them. Yet, for every blow they landed, Nekka's spirit seemed to grow stronger, feeding off the fear and desperation that hung heavy in the air. It soon became clear that they were outmatched, their strength no match for the ancient evil that stood before them. But just as all hope seemed lost, a voice rose above the din. The voice of the eldest shaman, his words infused with the power of generations past. With a final act of sacrifice, he called upon the spirits of the forest to aid them in their hour of need. And in that moment, the very earth trembled beneath their feet as the spirits rose from the depths of the forest, their ethereal forms swirling around Nekka like a tempestuous storm. With a cry of defiance, they unleashed their fury upon her, binding her spirit with chains of pure light. And as the darkness receded, replaced by the warm glow of dawn, the warriors and shamans emerged victorious, their hearts filled with a sense of triumph and renewal. For though the threat of Nekka had been vanquished once and for all, the memory of her dark reign would linger for generations to come, a reminder of the eternal struggle between light and darkness that raged within the human soul. With Nekka's darkness banished once again, the warriors and shamans returned to the village, weary but triumphant. They were greeted as heroes, their bravery celebrated by the relieved villagers who had feared the return of Nekka's malevolent spirit. Yet, despite their victory, a lingering unease hung over the village like a shadow. The elders knew that the battle against darkness was an ongoing struggle, one that required eternal vigilance and unwavering resolve. As the days passed, life in the village gradually returned to normalcy. The fields flourished once more, the laughter of children filled the air, and the warmth of community enveloped the village like a protective cloak. But beneath the surface, whispers of Nekka's darkness still lingered, a reminder of the ever-present threat that loomed just beyond the edge of their reality. The elders remained watchful, their eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble on the wind. And then, one fateful night, a young girl disappeared from the village without a trace. Rumors spread like wildfire, whispers of Nekka's return echoing through the streets like a haunting refrain. The villagers gathered once more, their hearts heavy with fear and uncertainty. They knew that the time had come to confront the darkness that threatened to engulf them once more. With grim determination, the warriors and shamans prepared for battle, their minds filled with memories of their previous encounters with Nekka's malevolent spirit. They knew that this time, the stakes were higher than ever before, and failure was not an option. And so, armed with courage and determination, they set out into the forest once more, their hearts ablaze with the fire of righteousness. They ventured deeper and deeper into the heart of darkness, guided by the faint glimmer of hope that burned within them. But as they journeyed further into the depths of the forest, they soon realized that this time, the darkness they faced was unlike anything they had encountered before. It seemed to pulse and writhe with a sinister energy, twisting the very fabric of reality itself. With each step, they felt the weight of the darkness pressing down upon them, threatening to crush their spirits beneath its suffocating embrace. Yet, they pressed on, their determination unyielding in the face of the encroaching shadows. And so, as they ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, the fate of the village once again hung in the balance, their future uncertain in the face of an ancient evil that refused to be vanquished. But they knew that as long as they stood together, united in their resolve, they would never truly be alone in the fight against the darkness that threatened to consume them. As the warriors and shamans delved deeper into the heart of the forest, the darkness seemed to thicken around them, clinging to their skin like a suffocating blanket. Whispers of Nekka's malevolent laughter echoed through the trees, sending shivers down their spines. Despite the oppressive atmosphere, the group pressed on, their determination unwavering in the face of the encroaching darkness. They moved with caution, their senses alert for any sign of danger lurking in the shadows. Hours turned into days as they journeyed deeper into the heart of the forest, the path growing increasingly treacherous with each step. Strange creatures skulked in the underbrush, their eyes gleaming with a feral intensity, while twisted forms slithered through the darkness, their presence sending shivers down the warriors' spines. But even as they faced these myriad threats, it was the sense of foreboding that weighed heaviest upon their hearts. They could feel the presence of Nekka's spirit lurking just beyond the edge of their perception, a malevolent force that seemed to anticipate their every move. Yet, despite the odds stacked against them, the warriors and shamans pressed onward, drawing upon the strength of their bonds and the wisdom of their ancestors to guide them through the darkness. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the heart of the forest, a place where the veil between the mortal realm and the spirit world was thinnest. Here, amidst the ancient trees and swirling mists, they found themselves face to face with Nekka's spirit once more. Her form twisted and contorted, shifting between shadow and substance with an otherworldly fluidity. Her eyes burned with a malevolent fire as she regarded them with a mixture of scorn and amusement. "You fools dare to challenge me once more?" she hissed, her voice echoing through the clearing like a sinister melody. "You cannot hope to defeat me." But the warriors and shamans stood their ground, their resolve unshaken in the face of Nekka's taunts. With a unified cry, they launched themselves into battle, their weapons flashing in the dim light as they clashed with the darkness that surrounded them. Yet, for every blow they landed, Nekka's spirit seemed to grow stronger, feeding off the fear and desperation that hung heavy in the air. It soon became clear that they were outmatched, their strength no match for the ancient evil that stood before them. But just as all hope seemed lost, a voice rose above the din, the voice of the eldest shaman, his words infused with the power of generations past. With a final act of sacrifice, he called upon the spirits of the forest to aid them in their hour of need. And in that moment, the very earth trembled beneath their feet as the spirits rose from the depths of the forest, their ethereal forms swirling around Neka like a tempestuous storm. With a cry of defiance, they unleashed their fury upon her, binding her spirit with chains of pure light. And as the darkness receded, replaced by the warm glow of dawn, the warriors and shamans emerged victorious, their hearts filled with a sense of triumph and renewal. For though the threat of Neka had been vanquished once and for all, the memory of her dark reign would linger for generations to come, a reminder of the eternal struggle between light and darkness that raged within the human soul. As the first light of dawn broke through the canopy, the warriors and shamans emerged from the heart of the forest, their spirits uplifted by their hard-won victory over Neka's darkness. The villagers, gathered at the edge of the forest, greeted them with tears of relief and expressions of gratitude. But amidst the celebrations, a somber mood hung over the village. The elders knew that while they had succeeded in banishing Neka's spirit for now, the threat of darkness would always loom on the horizon, waiting for an opportunity to rise again. Determined not to let fear rule their lives, the villagers banded together, drawing strength from each other and from the bonds forged in the crucible of their shared struggle. They vowed to remain vigilant, to never forget the lessons learned from their encounters with Neka's darkness. As the days passed, life in the village began to return to normal. The fields once again flourished, the laughter of children echoed through the streets, and a sense of hope permeated the air. But the memory of Neka's reign continued to linger, a reminder of the fragility of their world and the ever-present threat of darkness. The elders knew that they could never let their guard down completely, that the battle against evil was a never-ending struggle that required eternal vigilance. And so, as the seasons turned and the years passed, the village remained ever watchful, its people united in their determination to protect their home from the forces of darkness. For though Neka's spirit had been banished, the memory of her reign would live on as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the power of unity, courage, and the indomitable human spirit. As the village continued to rebuild and heal from the scars left by Neka's darkness, a newfound sense of unity and resilience permeated the community. The villagers worked together tirelessly, their spirits buoyed by the knowledge that they had faced their greatest fear and emerged victorious. But even as life in the village returned to a semblance of normalcy, whispers of a new threat began to circulate among the villagers. Strange occurrences once again plagued the land. Crops withered, livestock fell ill, and shadows seemed to dance with a life of their own. The elders, ever vigilant, recognized the signs immediately. They knew that Neka's darkness had not been vanquished entirely. It had merely laid dormant, waiting for an opportunity to rise again. With heavy hearts, the elders convened once more, their brows furrowed with concern as they grappled with the resurgence of dark forces. They knew that they could not afford to underestimate the threat that loomed on the horizon. Determined to protect their village from the encroaching darkness, the elders called upon the bravest warriors and wisest shamans to confront the new threat head-on. Armed with ancient knowledge and unwavering resolve, they set out into the wilderness, their hearts heavy with the weight of their responsibility. But as they ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, they soon realized that this time, the darkness they faced was unlike anything they had encountered before. It seemed to seep into every corner of the forest, twisting the very fabric of reality itself. With each step, they felt the weight of the darkness pressing down upon them, threatening to crush their spirits beneath its suffocating embrace. Yet, they pressed on, their determination unyielding in the face of the encroaching shadows. And so, as they ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, the fate of the village once again hung in the balance, their future uncertain in the face of an ancient evil that refused to be vanquished. But they knew that as long as they stood together, united in their resolve, they would never truly be alone in the fight against the darkness that threatened to consume them. As the warriors and shamans delved deeper into the heart of the forest, the oppressive darkness seemed to intensify, swallowing the very light around them. Whispers of malevolent spirits echoed through the trees, their voices taunting and chilling to the bone. Despite the foreboding atmosphere, the group pressed on, their determination unyielding in the face of the encroaching darkness. They moved with caution, their senses heightened for any sign of danger lurking in the shadows. Hours turned into days as they journeyed further into the heart of darkness, the path growing increasingly treacherous with each step. Strange and twisted creatures slunk through the underbrush, their eyes gleaming with a hunger for chaos and destruction. But even as they faced these terrifying adversaries, it was the sense of foreboding that weighed heaviest upon their hearts. They could feel the presence of an ancient evil lurking just beyond their reach, its malevolent aura suffusing the very air around them. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds stacked against them, the warriors and shamans pressed onward, drawing upon the strength of their bonds and the wisdom of their ancestors to guide them through the darkness. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the heart of the forest, a place where the darkness seemed to converge into a palpable, malevolent force. Here, amidst the gnarled trees and swirling mists, they found themselves face to face with the source of the darkness. It stood before them, a towering figure wreathed in shadow, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. It spoke with a voice that seemed to reverberate through the very earth itself, filling the warriors and shamans with a sense of dread. "You have come seeking to challenge me," it boomed, its voice dripping with malice. "But know this. You stand no chance against the darkness that resides within me." But the warriors and shamans stood their ground, their resolve unshaken in the face of the ancient evil that loomed before them. With a unified cry, they launched themselves into battle, their weapons flashing in the dim light as they clashed with the darkness that surrounded them. Yet, for every blow they landed, the darkness seemed to grow stronger, its power inexhaustible and its fury unrelenting. It soon became clear that they were outmatched, their strength no match for the ancient evil that stood before them. But just as all hope seemed lost, a voice rose above the din, the voice of the eldest shaman, his words infused with the power of generations past. With a final act of sacrifice, he called upon the spirits of the forest to aid them in their hour of need. And in that moment, the very earth trembled beneath their feet as the spirits rose from the depths of the forest, their ethereal forms swirling around the ancient evil like a tempestuous storm. With a cry of defiance, they unleashed their fury upon it, binding its darkness with chains of pure light. And as the darkness receded, replaced by the warm glow of dawn, the warriors and shamans emerged victorious, their hearts filled with a sense of triumph and renewal. For though the threat of darkness would always linger, they knew that as long as they stood together, they would never truly be alone in the fight against the ancient evils that sought to consume their world. With the ancient evil vanquished and the darkness dispelled, the warriors and shamans emerged from the heart of the forest, their spirits uplifted by their hard-won victory. They returned to the village as heroes, their courage and determination celebrated by the relieved villagers. But even as the village rejoiced in their triumph, a solemn realization dawned upon them. The battle against darkness was an eternal one, with no true end in sight. The villagers understood that they must remain ever vigilant, prepared to confront any new threats that may arise. With this knowledge weighing heavily upon their hearts, the villagers vowed to stand united in their defense against the encroaching darkness. They knew that as long as they remained steadfast and resolute, they could overcome any challenge that lay ahead. And so, as life in the village returned to normal, the memory of their recent victory served as a beacon of hope, a reminder of the strength and resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. But deep within the heart of the forest, shadows stirred once more, whispering of ancient evils yet to be faced. And though the villagers knew that their struggle against darkness would be ongoing, they faced the future with courage and determination, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead, united in their resolve to protect their home and preserve the light that shone within their souls. They returned to the village as heroes, their courage and determination celebrated by the relieved villagers. But even as the village rejoiced in their triumph, a solemn realization dawned upon them. The battle against darkness was an eternal one, with no true end in sight. The villagers understood that they must remain ever vigilant, prepared to confront any new threats that may arise. With this knowledge weighing heavily upon their hearts, the villagers vowed to stand united in their defense against the encroaching darkness. They knew that as long as they remained steadfast and resolute, they could overcome any challenge that lay ahead. And so, as life in the village returned to normal, the memory of their recent victory served as a beacon of hope, a reminder of the strength and resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. But deep within the heart of the forest, shadows stirred once more, whispering of ancient evils yet to be faced. And though the villagers knew that their struggle against darkness would be ongoing, they faced the future with courage and determination, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead, united in their resolve to protect their home and preserve the light that shone within their souls. As the village basked in the glow of their recent victory, whispers of a new threat began to spread like wildfire among the villagers. Strange occurrences once again plagued the land. Crops withered, livestock fell ill, and unsettling shadows danced in the moonlight. The elders, ever vigilant, recognized the signs immediately. They knew that the darkness, though banished temporarily, still lurked on the fringes of their reality, waiting for an opportunity to strike once more. With heavy hearts, the elders convened once more, their faces etched with concern as they grappled with the resurgence of dark forces. They understood that they could not afford to underestimate the threat that loomed on the horizon. Determined to protect their village from the encroaching darkness, the elders called upon the bravest warriors and wisest shamans to confront the new threat head-on. Armed with ancient knowledge and unwavering resolve, they set out into the wilderness, their hearts heavy with the weight of their responsibility. But as they journeyed deeper into the heart of the forest, they soon realized that this time, the darkness they faced was unlike anything they had encountered before. It seemed to seep into every corner of the forest, twisting the very fabric of reality itself. With each step, they felt the weight of the darkness pressing down upon them, threatening to crush their spirits beneath its suffocating embrace. Yet, they pressed on, their determination unyielding in the face of the encroaching shadows. And so, as they ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, the fate of the village once again hung in the balance, their future uncertain in the face of an ancient evil that refused to be vanquished. But they knew that as long as they stood together, united in their resolve, they would never truly be alone in the fight against the darkness that threatened to consume them. As the warriors and shamans delved deeper into the heart of the forest, the oppressive darkness seemed to thicken around them, enveloping them in a suffocating embrace. Whispers of malevolent spirits echoed through the trees, their voices chilling to the bone. Despite the foreboding atmosphere, the group pressed on, their determination unwavering in the face of the encroaching darkness. They moved with caution, their senses heightened for any sign of danger lurking in the shadows. Hours turned into days as they journeyed further into the heart of darkness, the path growing increasingly treacherous with each step. Strange and twisted creatures slunk through the underbrush, their eyes gleaming with a hunger for chaos and destruction. But even as they faced these terrifying adversaries, it was the sense of foreboding that weighed heaviest upon their hearts. They could feel the presence of an ancient evil lurking just beyond their reach, its malevolent aura suffusing the very air around them. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds stacked against them, the warriors and shamans pressed onward, drawing upon the strength of their bonds and the wisdom of their ancestors to guide them through the darkness. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the heart of the forest, a place where the darkness seemed to converge into a palpable, malevolent force. Here, amidst the gnarled trees and swirling mists, they found themselves face to face with the source of the darkness. It stood before them, a towering figure wreathed in shadow, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. It spoke with a voice that seemed to reverberate through the very earth itself, filling the warriors and shamans with a sense of dread. "You have come seeking to challenge me," it boomed, its voice dripping with malice. But know this. You stand no chance against the darkness that resides within me. But the warriors and shamans stood their ground, their resolve unshaken in the face of the ancient evil that loomed before them. With a unified cry, they launched themselves into battle, their weapons flashing in the dim light as they clashed with the darkness that surrounded them. Yet, for every blow they landed, the darkness seemed to grow stronger, its power inexhaustible and its fury unrelenting. It soon became clear that they were outmatched, their strength no match for the ancient evil that stood before them. But just as all hope seemed lost, a voice rose above the din. The voice of the eldest shaman, his words infused with the power of generations past. With a final act of sacrifice, he called upon the spirits of the forest to aid them in their hour of need. And in that moment, the very earth trembled beneath their feet as the spirits rose from the depths of the forest, their ethereal forms swirling around the ancient evil like a tempestuous storm. With a cry of defiance, they unleashed their fury upon it, binding its darkness with chains of pure light. And as the darkness receded, replaced by the warm glow of dawn, the warriors and shamans emerged victorious, their hearts filled with a sense of triumph and renewal. For though the threat of darkness would always linger, they knew that as long as they stood together, they would never truly be alone in the fight against the ancient evils that sought to consume their world. With the ancient evil vanquished and the darkness dispelled, the warriors and shamans emerged from the heart of the forest, their spirits uplifted by their hard-won victory. They returned to the village as heroes, their courage and determination celebrated by the relieved villagers. But even as the village rejoiced in their triumph, a solemn realization dawned upon them. The battle against darkness was an eternal one, with no true end in sight. The villagers understood that they must remain ever vigilant, prepared to confront any new threats that may arise. With this knowledge weighing heavily upon their hearts, the villagers vowed to stand united in their defense against the encroaching darkness. They knew that as long as they remained steadfast and resolute, they could overcome any challenge that lay ahead. And so, as life in the village returned to normal, the memory of their recent victory served as a beacon of hope, a reminder of the strength and resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. But deep within the heart of the forest, shadows stirred once more, whispering of ancient evils yet to be faced. And though the villagers knew that their struggle against darkness would be ongoing, they faced the future with courage and determination, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead, united in their resolve to protect their home and preserve the light that shone within their souls. As the villagers settled back into their routines, a sense of unease lingered in the air, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of their reality. Whispers of the recent encounter with the ancient evil circulated among them, fueling their fears and keeping them on edge. The elders, their brows furrowed with concern, convened to discuss the looming threat that hung over the village like a shadow. They knew that the recent victory, while significant, had only served to temporarily quell the darkness that threatened their home. With a heavy heart, the eldest among them stepped forward, his voice grave with solemnity. He spoke of the need for eternal vigilance, of the ever-present danger that lurked in the depths of the forest, waiting for an opportunity to strike once more. Determined not to succumb to despair, the villagers rallied together, drawing strength from each other and from the bonds forged in the crucible of their shared struggle. They vowed to remain vigilant, to stand united against the encroaching darkness, no matter the cost. But even as they prepared for the challenges that lay ahead, a new threat emerged from the depths of the forest, more insidious and more terrifying than anything they had faced before. Strange occurrences once again plagued the land. Crops withered, livestock fell ill, and unsettling shadows seemed to slink through the village streets under the cover of night. The villagers knew that they were facing a foe unlike any they had encountered before, a darkness that seemed to seep into every corner of their world, twisting and corrupting everything it touched. With their resolve tested like never before, the villagers turned to their warriors and shamans for guidance and protection. Armed with ancient knowledge and unwavering determination, they set out into the wilderness once more, their hearts heavy with the weight of their responsibility. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, they knew that the fate of their village hung in the balance, their future uncertain in the face of an ancient evil that refused to be vanquished. But they also knew that as long as they stood together, united in their resolve, they would never truly be alone in the fight against the darkness that threatened to consume them. As the warriors and shamans delved deeper into the heart of the forest, a palpable sense of dread hung heavy in the air. The oppressive darkness seemed to thicken around them, suffocating their senses and obscuring their path. Despite the foreboding atmosphere, the group pressed on, their determination unyielding in the face of the encroaching darkness. They moved with caution, their senses alert for any sign of danger lurking in the shadows. Hours turned into days as they journeyed further into the heart of darkness, the path growing increasingly treacherous with each step. Strange and twisted creatures slunk through the underbrush, their eyes gleaming with a hunger for chaos and destruction. But even as they faced these terrifying adversaries, it was the sense of foreboding that weighed heaviest upon their hearts. They could feel the presence of an ancient evil lurking just beyond their reach, its malevolent aura suffusing the very air around them. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds stacked against them, the warriors and shamans pressed onward, drawing upon the strength of their bonds and the wisdom of their ancestors to guide them through the darkness. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the heart of the forest, a place where the darkness seemed to converge into a palpable, malevolent force. Here, amidst the gnarled trees and swirling mists, they found themselves face to face with the source of the darkness. It stood before them, a towering figure wreathed in shadow, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. It spoke with a voice that seemed to reverberate through the very earth itself, filling the warriors and shamans with a sense of dread. "You have come seeking to challenge me," it boomed, its voice dripping with malice. "But know this. You stand no chance against the darkness that resides within me." But the warriors and shamans stood their ground, their resolve unshaken in the face of the ancient evil that loomed before them. With a unified cry, they launched themselves into battle, their weapons flashing in the dim light as they clashed with the darkness that surrounded them. Yet, for every blow they landed, the darkness seemed to grow stronger, its power inexhaustible and its fury unrelenting. It soon became clear that they were outmatched, their strength no match for the ancient evil that stood before them. But just as all hope seemed lost, a voice rose above the din, the voice of the eldest shaman, his words infused with the power of generations past. With a final act of sacrifice, he called upon the spirits of the forest to aid them in their hour of need. And in that moment, the very earth trembled beneath their feet as the spirits rose from the depths of the forest, their ethereal forms swirling around the ancient evil like a tempestuous storm. With a cry of defiance, they unleashed their fury upon it, binding its darkness with chains of pure light. And as the darkness receded, replaced by the warm glow of dawn, the warriors and shamans emerged victorious, their hearts filled with a sense of triumph and renewal. For though the threat of darkness would always linger, they knew that as long as they stood together, they would never truly be alone in the fight against the ancient evils that sought to consume their world. As the last remnants of darkness dissipated into the morning light, the warriors and shamans stood amidst the clearing, their chests heaving with exhaustion but their spirits uplifted by their hard-won victory. The ancient evil that had threatened their village had been vanquished once and for all. With a sense of relief washing over them, the warriors and shamans made their way back to the village, where they were greeted as heroes by the jubilant villagers. The streets were alive with celebration, the air filled with laughter and music as the community rejoiced in their newfound freedom from the shadowy grip of darkness. Yet, amidst the revelry, the villagers knew that their victory had come at a great cost. They remembered the sacrifices made by the brave warriors and wise shamans, whose courage and determination had saved their home from destruction. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness gave way to the warm embrace of night, the villagers gathered around the flickering flames of the village bonfire, their faces illuminated by its golden light. They knew that though the battle against darkness was eternal, they would face the challenges that lay ahead with courage and resilience, united in their determination to protect their home and preserve the light that shone within their souls. And as the stars twinkled overhead, casting their gentle glow upon the village below, the villagers found solace in the knowledge that no matter what trials may come, they would face them together.